Welcome to Conversational Commerce. My name is Javier Mata, and I'm CEO and founder at Yalo. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is completely changing emerging markets and most markets in the world, and that is conversational commerce. So let's get started. First things first, what is conversational commerce? What are we talking about when we say c-commerce or conversational commerce? We're talking about something very special that is taking place inside of the messaging apps where your users are already spending 84% of their time. And those are apps like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. And conversational commerce is the ability to do commerce, to sell, and to service your customers through those apps. How did this happen and how did we get here? Well, c-commerce happened because of mobile applications that had been created that didn't fulfill their promises. And why didn't they fulfill their promises? Well, it turns out that 7 out of 10 apps stopped being used by the third month that they have been downloaded. Let's take a pause there. Let's think about what that means. All of the effort that you have put into building that app and all of the hopes and dreams that you had around people using it, it's not working out the way we thought it would work out. In fact, the only apps where people are spending most of their time is messaging apps. If we look at the ranking of apps, we see there WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat in China, or QQ, being the apps that people are using most of the times. So there's a big opportunity there in offering your services and products through these messaging apps. Because more than 65% of the time that millennials are talking, they are not doing it by voice, or they are not doing it in person. They're using messaging apps to communicate. So if your company is there, you're gonna have the opportunity to not only talk, but actually run a full-on commerce through these messaging apps. And this is something that is already happening today. Did you know that brands are already interacting, and probably you already interact with your customers there? But here's some interesting facts. More than 1 billion people are interacting consistently with businesses via chat. And inside of WhatsApp, they just created these official accounts, and it happens that more than 175 million people are interacting on a daily basis with official business accounts through WhatsApp. So it's something that is already taking place, and it's only going to keep on growing. So c-commerce or conversational commerce is bringing all of the benefits that were promised through the apps, but without its friction. And what do we mean by that? Let's take a look at what has happened in the last couple of years. Even before the website, how was the way that we were buying our products? We used to go to a store. The store had a salesperson, and that salesperson gave us a very personalized service. But whenever we asked for a product that didn't have in the store, the experience completely broke. Then we moved into websites. Websites offered us a plethora of variation. We had all sorts of products at the length of a click, and we could get them. But we lost a bit of the personalization. However, we didn't mind losing that personalization because of the variety that we have. And then we moved into mobile. Websites were working really well on desktop, but whenever we moved into mobile and we had very small screens, they started breaking. And that's why apps were created. So apps were created for the mobile era, and they were created to work in the small devices that we had and with the processing powers that these devices had. However, apps started to have a lot of friction. And the friction that they had is every time we wanted to use an app to interact with a business, we had to download it, we had to install it, which meant that it took a lot of space inside of our phone. And that's the reason why 7 out of 10 apps get either uninstalled or unused 3 months later. That stat is not talking about the millions of apps that have been created and never downloaded. That's why a lot of companies, if you see the marketing budget that they have, they spend it in convincing people to download their apps. And that is a big friction point. So conversational applications remove that friction. And the way they remove this friction is by bringing the services that your company is offering in the apps where users already are, which are these messaging apps. So let's talk a bit about the benefits that this conversational commerce paradigm is bringing. First of all, it's truly customer-centric. We cannot begin to talk about customer centricity until we start adapting our companies to our customers and not the other way around. Whenever we're thinking applications and we're forcing people to download an app, we're not being customer-centric. You have to be where your customers are. And nowadays, people are spending 2 hours of their day or more inside of a phone. And 80% of the time that they're spending inside of that phone, they're spending inside of the messaging app. So you have to be where your customers are. And the other thing about being customer-centric is truly adapting to the way they navigate and the way they interact with technology nowadays. If we look at the desktop era, everything was designed around having undivided attention and being in front of the computer doing something. But that is no longer the case. Think about what you did today before coming into this presentation. You probably checked messages, then you jumped into another application to revise news, then you checked messages again, then you probably got another message and you were checking that, then you went for lunch, you probably scrolled through Instagram and looked at some videos, then you went into another messaging app, and so on and so forth. So you're jumping in between a lot of different applications. And unless you manage to have a service that maintains that context and that keeps up with that jumping through different applications, you're going to become irrelevant. And that's the benefit of conversational commerce. By being inside of these messaging applications, it keeps up with the user patterns. The second advantage of conversational commerce is that it's truly omnichannel. Omnichannel means that your company can exist in any interface that the customer is interacting with. So, take for instance, you visit a physical store. By visiting that physical store, you could connect into the Wi-Fi of the store and get a message through WhatsApp and get an assistant to give you some recommendations about that store. Not only that, but whenever you visit that website of that company, you're also going to get information regarding the products that you saw at the physical store. So you don't need to lose context and you don't need to be switching context every time you interact with that company in different interfaces. And that's what omnichannel is all about. It's about allowing your services, allowing your company to exist in many different interfaces, but most importantly, keeping the context throughout those interfaces. And chat, being a great thread, is the way of keeping that context. Let me put a better and a very simple example around this. If we think about what was the last conversation we had with one of our friends or one of our colleagues, all we need to do is go into WhatsApp or go into an Instagram conversation and scroll up and down. In there, you have all of the history and all of the context of what the relationship has been. So now, as a company, you're going to have the opportunity to have that thread and to have that story, not only as a company, but also your user is going to know what they've been interacting with you about. The third advantage is that it truly democratizes the access. We cannot talk about access when 80% of the users that we're trying to address do not have a data plan, or 93% of the users that we're trying to get into our websites have a low or mid-range smartphone, and therefore our apps are not working for them. Did you know that 8 out of every 10 people on emerging markets have never made a purchase on e-commerce? So that is a really big opportunity that we have in front of us. And when we talk about really transforming digitally, it's not about optimizing on those 20% that are already buying with you. That's just a small bit. It's really about addressing those 80% that are still not interacting with you. And conversational commerce provides a great opportunity to do that. So if we think about this, and if we think about these benefits, the fact that it adapts to the user and the habits, the fact that it works on any type of smartphone, the fact that it doesn't require a data plan, and that the messaging app is already included in most of the phones, and the fact that it maintains context and it connects the physical world with the digital world, we come to the realization that C-commerce is really the type of commerce that is geared towards emerging markets, because it has all of the characteristics that make it work. Therefore, it is not surprised that it is already working, and it is how a lot of users are getting products nowadays. The other benefit of C-commerce is that it allows us to, within one channel, start merging the benefits and that personalization that you used to get in the store with the variety and immediacy that you get online. So let me put a very simple example here. Let's say that you're trying to buy a television and you go onto a traditional website. In that traditional website, if you don't find the television that you wanted, or you didn't get some answers to the questions that you had, the sale typically ends there and you won't buy this product. But inside of C-commerce, if you're already inside of WhatsApp, you could just ask a question and then summon a specialist on that TV to provide you that assistance. Not only that, but this specialist could have access to all of your information regarding what you have bought in the past, and based on those purchases could give you an even better recommendation for a TV. So that's why it's merging the benefits of the offline personalization with the benefits of the online variety and ease of access. We have two types of varieties, or really we have a spread around how C-commerce can work. On the one hand, we have products that are highly standardized that we can use a lot of automation for. On the other hand, we have products that are highly customized that probably need a bit of hand-holding. C-commerce works for the two of them. So to take the example of highly standardized products, we can take food delivery, for instance. You could run the entire ordering process without leaving the messaging app in a very simple way. Get menus, get some options. It doesn't have to summon a human to do that. However, if we go into a retail sale, let's say that we're buying a pair of jeans and we wanted some customization around those jeans or some recommendations around those jeans, you could also summon an agent. And that's why, on the other hand, we can also manage highly customized products. Now, let's look at some of the examples and some of the data that we have around here. If we double click on C-commerce at the emerging market perspective, is the market that has the highest potential of growing inside of India, Brazil, Mexico, and in general, all of the emerging markets. We see a big gap around the people that are already knowledgeable around conversational commerce and the ones that are doing it, or the companies that are offering this service. So that spread really represents an opportunity for your company. On the other hand, C-commerce is growing twice as fast as e-commerce. So let's take a moment there, because e-commerce has accelerated quite a bit, and even more so with the pandemic. So that only means that C-commerce is on a rocket ship to grow. And as a company, if you're looking for new areas of growth, probably being inside of C-commerce is something that is going to add a lot of benefits. And this is not something that we need to talk about in the future, as if something is coming next. It's something that is already happening. C-commerce is already taking place, and probably you have done it without realizing when you're talking to the bread store next door, or when you're talking to a friend and coordinating a sale throughout. this is something that is already happening. So let me go and give you some examples of how this is taking place. The first one, mom and pop shops. They are the corner store or the cornerstone of the economies in emerging markets. We know that growing up, we always used to go to the mom and pop shop in our nearest corner to get some type of products. Did you also know that the model in which these mom and pop shops get served or order products hasn't changed since the creation of the CPG? And they hadn't changed until conversational commerce came along. So how does the model work? Typically, you would have one of these big brands, let's say someone like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or any of these brands, visiting the store with a person to take an order. And then the store owner will place an order, and then the next day they're going to get delivery. These companies had tried to digitize this process by bringing websites and applications. But what happened? The store owner either didn't have a really powerful phone, so it couldn't install or use the app in a good way, or didn't have data on its phone, so they couldn't use that. But what we realized is they were using WhatsApp. They were already in WhatsApp and they were using it for all sorts of activities. So conversational commerce started happening that. And what these companies did is they brought the ability to the store owner to place orders inside of WhatsApp, and they started getting a lot of good results. To mention just two of those great results, we now are seeing more than 500,000 stores recurrently placing orders to these bottlers, to these CPGs, through the WhatsApp channel. We're also seeing an 83% conversion rate. Just to give some context, the physical person that was visiting the store has a 79% conversion rate. So this means that through the conversational commerce channel, they're getting an even higher conversion rate than what they used to get before, with all the benefits that you get and all the cost savings that you get from doing this process in a digital way. And what happened to the salesperson? Well, the salesperson now has transformed and has become a business development representative, and now is truly a partner to the store. So they can advise the store on what type of products to sell, what type of orders to do, which is incredible. The second example that we have here is around the travel industry. We all probably have suffered from getting a flight canceled or having one of our flights delayed. And what typically happens? You need to pick up your phone and you need to call a contact center, which is going to put you on hold for a really, really long time. And then you get angry and so on and so forth. Well, with one of the customers that we have, we managed to automate all of that process through WhatsApp. So now you can go from buying your tickets to changing your seat to solving any questions or to handling any complaints or any type of service through WhatsApp without having to leave the messaging app and without having to pick up your phone and make a call, which has transformed the business. And now they have more than 84% of their consistent queries and consistent complaints automated with a customer satisfaction that is above 4 out of 5, which means that a lot of their customers are getting benefits from interacting with Aeromexico on this type of channel. Another example that we have is for the food delivery industry. So this is an industry that has gone through a lot of different transformation. But the big chains inside of this have also gone through some not so positive transformations. And why are there not so positive transformations? Because now, through the super apps of delivery, they are getting their user base very mixed. You might bring traffic into the super app. Let's say you were Domino's and you were doing this. And now one of these apps is offering other type of pizzas to your users. So what did these chains started to do? They started building a direct channel with their customers. And this direct channel is happening through the messaging app where customers already are. So what type of experiences can be created there? The experience can be highly personalized and can go from a very tedious type of ordering process that you used to have before into a simple message where you can say, "Hi Domino's, send me the usual." And Domino's will have all of the information of what the usual is, and with the tap of a button or the tap of a couple of buttons to send a message, you will get your order processed. Another example is what happens in retail. And this is a very interesting transformation because if we look at what the pandemic did, or what the pandemic kept on doing, was closing a lot of the shops or not allowing you to go into a lot of the shops. So what did companies like Sears and other customers started doing? Well, they saw this as an opportunity. And what type of opportunity they saw was they were seeing a lot of new buyers coming into their e-commerce website. On the other hand, they had a lot of floor sellers that weren't receiving any customers because the stores were closed. So they started combining the two of them. And what they did is now you can go into the e-commerce website of Sears or any other retailer. And for products that are high ticket items, you're going to find a little WhatsApp bubble or any other messaging bubble. And you can get assistance around that product. And who is providing you that assistance? Well, it's the floor sellers. So the floor sellers, through their phone, they are now answering a lot of the inquiries and they're giving you recommendations around the products that you're interested in buying. And what did that translate to? An increase of almost 300% in the annual growth of sales and an increase of 4 times the productivity, an increase of 4x the productivity rate of the sellers. So that means that the sellers are now selling from their phone 4 times what they used to sell versus when people used to come to the store. This is truly fascinating and truly transformational. And this is only the beginning. There is a lot to be built, and we're only getting started when it comes to conversational commerce. Conversational commerce is truly bringing together the best of the physical world, the best of the online world, and it's bringing it through a very simple interface where users are already spending the time. So now we might be wondering, all right, Javier, we believe you. Conversational commerce is having a real transformation. How do I take advantage of that as a company? How can I do that? And let's talk about this. So in order for you to take advantage of conversational commerce, you need to think about what changes or what type of technology you're going to need in order to serve the users in the channels where they already are. A lot of the times, our mind immediately goes into chatbots. And yes, chatbots is one part of this, but not at all is chatbot going to solve your problem, or not at all is chatbot going to allow you to create a conversational commerce experience. Chatbots is just the first part of getting started in the conversational commerce journey. What you need is a holistic platform that is going to allow you to bring all of the different systems and services that your company has to the hands of the users. So you start with your systems, then you connect into those systems particular applications. And what I mean by applications is commerce, the ability to buy, marketing, the ability to follow up, service, the ability to solve common questions and common requests into your systems. The other thing that you're going to have to do is to start incorporating workflows. And workflows means how can we move in between different systems in order to serve our customers better. The other component of it is artificial intelligence, which has a part of natural language processing to understand what the user is writing, but it has a lot more than that. It also has some predictability to allow you to recommend products to your customers in a better way. And then the interface that you use in order to interact goes through a chatbot that is going to interact, but also has certain web applications, because not everything is about writing. You can also put certain websites and certain ways of interacting that are a lot more familiar to the user and a lot easier to use, but always starting from the messaging app. All of these components can be offered through a platform, and Yalo offers you that platform. Yalo gives you the ability to go beyond a simple chatbot and to really have a platform that is going to allow you to bring those services and to do real conversational commerce. So we have seen that the future of sales and customer service is going to happen inside of conversational commerce. Why? Because it is contextual. It's going to follow up with the customer at the right time and in the right place. The second advantage of this is that it's asynchronous. The customer can decide when they want to interact and when they want to stop that interaction and continue where they left off. It is real time, and that means that the customer doesn't need to wait months before getting service. It can do it from the place that they already interact. And above all, and the truly important part here is that it's customer-centric. You are adapting to the way your customers are interacting and not forcing them to interact to the way you would like them to interact. And that is the true advantage. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure sharing with you today. And if you need any more information, please remember that all of this report is going to be on yalochat.com. Thank you.